Welcome to another episode of the Financial Armor Show. My name is Jose Rodriguez, investment advisor here at Cooper Financial, and your host for today, alongside my co-host Jaclyn. How you doing, Jaclyn?
I'm hanging in there, Jose. I feel like I'm a lion today. It's 95 degrees out and it's like
Whoa,
crazy humidity.
I
Okay,
feel
so
so bad for you.
yeah. Okay, 95 with crazy humidity. You don't get that humidity part of it.
I don't care. It's not as bad as if you go outside right now for like 5 minutes, your skin will be sizzling.
Mm.
Even if you're not sweating, it still hurts.
Is that
It's
why
like a
you're so
different.
pale?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, because I'm very pale. By the way, on Sunday, we're recording this on a Monday. Yesterday, I was working on my yard. I am very
Your
dark right
grass.
now. And my arms are very dark right now because I was working on my lawn. Because
Okay.
apparently, because right now nothing will grow, because of the sun. It's so hot that
Mhm.
literally the sun would just burn the grass. So I had to change. I have to change the lawn a little bit to summer lawn so it can
All of that
withstand the heat.
hard work that you have put into your lawn and your grass,
Oh
and
yeah, I
you're
keep talking
telling
about
me,
it on this podcast, right? It's
yeah.
kind of my thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, are we using tarps and we're covering it up, or what are we doing to
No,
save it?
it's just I just have to change the seeds. That's what it
Oh,
is. I
okay.
I was using winter shade seeds, which
Okay.
worked in the winter when it
Mhm.
wasn't 100 and plus degrees outside, and it was shaded majority of the time because there's less the sunlight lasts less
Mhm.
in the winter. So there's less sun hitting the grass. But now it's sun hits the grass like almost for 12 hours. So it's like getting cooked.
Yeah.
So I was looking pretty sad, and I was sad because I put so much work into it. And then I was like, and I had a brief, not a brief conversation, a good conversation with ChatGPT on how to deal with this.
Okay.
And ChatGPT told me to reseed
Yeah.
to
It's had
Bermuda.
your back. Had it has your back.
Yep, the ChatGPT and I have been working on this grass for a very long time. You know,
Yeah, I bet.
a
We
bunch of
know.
trial and error happened a lot.
Yeah. Well, our listeners and viewers that, listen every single week, they know. They know about your grass and they're invested as much as I am. So, we need to hear about updates every single time.
Yeah. One
But
of these
it's
days, I
it's
need to show a picture too.
yes. And honestly, I'm a little upset that this grass that you've spent so much time and that's spent so much time on our podcast is just gone, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It does hurt me emotionally, and I think about it every day as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Jose, how else are you doing other than being heartbroken by your grass right now?
The World Cup is happening right now, and
Yes.
the US is doing really well. They're playing amazing, and so is Mexico. Those are the two people I'm following. Canada, they just beat who was it? South Africa
Oh,
to
did
move on
they?
to the gr- eight. I forget what you call it. It's a team of eight teams or something. It's
Okay.
essentially it's everything is playoffs right now. If you
Mhm.
lose a game, you're out of the tournament. And yesterday was the first game, which was Canada against South Africa. Canada won, and right now, just about a couple hours ago, it was Brazil against Japan, and Brazil beat Japan. So those are the first two teams that are moving on to the next round of
Wow.
16. That's what it's called, round 16.
Okay.
So
Wow.
more to
And
come.
yeah, I mean, this is all exciting, and I know there's been a lot to be said about, people from different countries coming to America,
Yeah.
and, there's a lot of news out there, and I just want to quote something that I heard. I don't know from who, but it was, "If you want to hate America, read the news, pay attention to the media, and if
Hmm.
you wanna love America, then step foot in America and walk."
Yep.
And I think a lot of these foreigners are coming to America for these games and realizing, the beauty that we have
Hmm.
here and just the appreciation for the people and the game. And it's really just a whole community and a whole world coming together in such an uncertain time, or the things that are being said on the media.
Yeah, yeah. You see all these teams partying it together at the on these games
Mhm.
outside the games. It's I mean, I think that's what's really beautiful about the World Cup in general is that it brings a whole lot of people together, and
Yeah.
You see other people from all kinds of walks of life and from different ethnicities just having a beer together, watching the game. They might
Yeah.
not even watching a game that is either other countries, but they're just here to watch. And I do
And
that all the time.
yes. And they can't, I mean, and you can't even understand each other than your facial expressions and your
Exactly.
emotion behind your voice. And
Oh
it's like
yeah.
the way that you can communicate with different people with the emotion, not even
Yep.
the language, but
Yep.
literally just your emotion is crazy.
Yeah. That's why I consider the World Cup season as a holiday because it's just so beautiful because of that.
Yeah.
It's Christmas top for me.
Okay. Okay.
World Cup is right below it. Just so you know.
Really?
Yeah, because both of them remind me of love, which is sounds so corny,
Yes.
I know. But both of them I think, are the most joyous times ever
Yeah.
of in my and as far as holidays go.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah, so
And
that's what's going on in my life. I just do that. Those my hobbies are taking care of my lawn and, watching, the World Cup.
yeah. So you watch seeds grow and you watch the World Cup. I mean, that's a great
Yes.
balance. That's a
Yeah.
great balance.
Yeah, they're both very exciting, equally exciting, right?
Yes, yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it just I mean, I'm happy to hear all of that, and I'm, praying for your grass at this point that you can keep that going because I don't wanna hear it next week. I'm gonna get a text from you. I'm gonna get, something that's like, I'm just dead on the inside. My grass is dead. I can't keep going." So
Yeah.
I need you to be here smiling and happy. So please, please just get the grass figured
Yeah.
out.
For the sake of the show, I'll do my
Yeah.
best to get this grass growing.
And then send pictures and
Yes.
share pictures on the podcast.
Yes, I will. I will.
Well, Jose, I mean, I'm really excited to talk about kind of an emergency fund today. I know that there's a lot of news or really speculations about what you need for an emergency fund. What's
Mhm.
normal? What does that entail? And
Mhm.
especially right now, some things are a little rocky. People are feeling uncertain. And kind of the idea of cash is becoming more of a thing.
Yep.
And people think that that's safe. So, what do you
Yep.
think?
Yeah, I mean, it's the emergency fund is a tool in the financial planning world that I think it's just supposed to be that cushion for everybody.
Mhm.
Now, every person has a different cushion. They differ. They need a different size bed. Different
Mhm.
thickness depending on they like firm or I'm using an analogy with mattresses now, but but no, but it's everybody needs a different kind of an emergency fund.
Mhm,
But as far as needing it, everybody should have one. It's part
mhm.
of your I call it it's part of the uh like a foundation of every financial plan.
Yes,
And without a foundation, everything could just fall apart and crumble.
yes.
Um, so
And yeah,
what
and I also
is
think, I mean, Jose,
Mhm,
it's the foundation to a peace of mind, right? I mean,
mhm,
life happens. We just talked about
mhm,
before this episode about, scary things do happen to people. How
mhm,
it's sad. It's really sad, but things do happen, cancer, illnesses,
mhm,
a car wreck, something
mhm,
life happens. And so having that emergency fund will help you just in case because you're going to be working in crisis mode,
mhm,
right? When an emergency happens, your mind's not gonna quite be there to
mhm.
really digest everything. So
And
having that
also,
foundation and that mattress is
yeah.
what's key.
No, and also there a lot of people think about it this way, and it's not that it's a bad way to think about it, but it's also probably not the most optimal way to think about it. But people think, oh, I have a bunch of money in investments, I'm gonna be okay. That's my
Mm,
mattress. But the thing is that that mattress is very volatile. It could be there one day, it could not be there one day, and you
mhm,
don't really want to take that gamble because it could go up and down. And on the long term, it's fine because you can ride that out. But in the short term, if we're talking 6 to 12 months kind of time frame,
mhm,
um, you want that to be you really want to make sure and be certain that that
mhm.
mattress, the emergency fund, is going to be there if you need it. Right.
Yeah, to help
Um,
you sleep at night.
wow, we're on fire today with these analogies. Um, and we just thought about. By the way, we do this all on the fly too.
Yeah.
So this is kudos to Jaclyn. She's amazing.
No,
Um,
so are you, Jose. Yes,
but
and
but as far as how do we know how much uh, to have an emergency fund and how to build it, and it depends really on each individual. Like I said, every person kind of has their own preferences when it comes to mattresses and or emergency fund, right? And the different needs too, depending on your circumstances in your life. Um, one example is uh, somebody that is, two a household that has two incomes
mhm,
and no kids. I mean, they have a dog. Maybe they call it uh, I think there's a new millennial
a
term for that.
dinks.
A dinks, a dual income, no kids,
Yes.
and a dog at
I
with a
don't know what the
dog.
d dog income I don't know.
Yeah, but so the dinks of the world is just dual income, no kids.
Mhm,
Somebody that situation calls for a different emergency fund than somebody that is for example, my household. It's one income and and a kid, and we have three people in our household, and one of them essentially, well, actually, both of them depend on my income.
mhm,
Um, for us all to live. And so my emergency fund is different than a dink situation.
mhm.
Okay. So what does that look like? Let's use those two scenarios.
'Kay,
The dual income, no kids, they can get away with a 3 months of fixed expenses.
'kay.
Now, what do I mean by fixed expenses?
Yeah.
I mean, like rent, mortgage, insurance, any of those fixed things that you need to survive, food,
Mhm,
electricity, things like that. Um, people usually people usually use the calculation of their income and times it by 3, which is really I think that's doing too much because if something ever happens and you are in need of tapping into the
mhm,
emergency fund, you're probably not going out and spending your discretionary income on food and clothing because you're dealing
mhm,
with an emergency right now. And on the other side, also, you're not probably saving, 20% of your income when you're going through an emergency because you're focusing on this emergency. So
mhm,
what's left is the fixed expenses, right? So that's why I think 3 months of fixed expenses is sufficient for this scenario of dual income, no kids.
mhm.
On my end, where there's only single income and there's kids, I at very least 6 months of expenses is what we needed. And
'Kay.
in my scenario, and also for the other scenario as well, those are for, what if something happened to me and I was out of a job for whatever reason, even
Mhm.
if I got hurt and I couldn't work for a while.
Yeah.
Um, that's where that would jump in. And also to add to that thing, which is not the topic of this podcast, but somebody like in my situation, it probably benefit to look into some disability income insurance
Yes.
because everybody's relying on my one income, and
Yeah,
it's the
or
same
life
thing for
insurance
life
or
insurance. Yeah,
mhm.
my scenario is where life insurance and disability income is really key because if
Mhm.
something were to happen to me, it would really affect my whole family,
Yeah. Yeah,
and
and
I do
I
have all
think
of that.
yeah, and Jose, I mean, those are great points, and I think it also comes down to kind of your comfort. And I know that you
Hmm.
touched on that earlier. And, yes, it's about who's in your household and maybe what is reliant on your income, but it's also
Hmm.
about your comfort. For me, I'm not comfortable having a little amount, right? I've needed that. I've needed to tap into some things like that before. And so for me, I want more of an emergency fund. But that's just, where I'm at to make my peace of mind,
Hmm.
and to allow me to again sleep at night.
Hmm.
And so I don't know how you feel, but maybe it ties in maybe with your risk tolerance a little bit and just kind
It
of
does.
where you stand.
It does. And that's the kind of conversation I typically have with my clients. And it's not, there's also such thing as having too much in your emergency fund.
Yes.
And the reason that is because you want to have as much money as it's reasonable to be
Mhm.
in the market growing at a better
Mhm.
percent than any savings account.
Mhm.
So, right now your high yield savings account is giving you 3 to 4%
Mhm.
on your money, which is fine. It's great. But you could have that invested somewhere else and give you that 7, 10% or whatever that
Mhm.
investment look like. And that's why you want to have the right amount and not too much, not too little.
Mhm.
Um, and it's something I recommend also is, for example, I'm okay with 6 months of expenses.
Mhm.
That's okay with my risk tolerance, but that range is 6 to 12 months, right?
Mhm.
If I'm very conservative, if there's only one income and I'm very conservative, can't sleep at night. I would say the most I should have in my savings, emergency savings is 12 months.
Yeah.
Somebody that go over here on the dual income situation, um, the most I would say that range is 3 to 6 months. The most, if I were very conservative, the most I would say is 6 months because there's two
Mhm.
incomes,
Mhm.
right? Um,
Yeah.
and if you go over the 6 months, I would even shave off the excess every year and invest it in the market because
Yeah.
you can make more money than your 3 to 4% over here.
Correct. So I want to touch on a few things that you noted there, Jose, is, the reason why the market does not work for an emergency fund is, we always talk about kind of staying the course, right?
Hmm.
And when things get rocky, you don't want to pull out. And I think my follow-up question to that is what avenues count as an emergency fund? Just a savings, a high yield savings, bonds? I mean, what avenues do you consider an emergency fund?
So there could be many options. Obviously, some are better than others. Um, the the people, the one that most people are familiar with is just the regular savings account. Well,
Mhm.
that the bank calls as a savings account, but essentially
Yes,
it's just another checking account because it doesn't even give you any interest. At least the
correct.
one with mine at Chase
Yeah,
doesn't do any of that.
mine doesn't either.
so so and I'll tell you what options there are, and I'll tell you what I've done. What
Mhm,
I did with my personal one. They are money market accounts as well,
mhm,
and there are you can do T bills, Treasury bills, um, or you can do a high yield savings account. Um, but they kind of all are made of the same thing. They're just called different things. They're all very
mhm,
similar. Even if
mhm.
for example, in the money market account, if you open up the insides of a money market account,
Yeah,
they kind of they're just filled with T bills anyway.
okay.
So they kind of all work the same, and because they're all made out of the same thing, they're all
Mhm,
going to give you about the same interest.
mhm,
Okay, so it's about who your bank has access to as far as does they have a money market account? Do they have a high yield savings account? Or can you buy and sell T bills? T bills are probably a little bit harder to do than,
mhm,
which is why I don't do that 'cause it's work that I don't need to be doing. I
mhm.
have other things to worry about. So what I did a high yield savings account. And this is not sponsored or anything, but I went online and I opened up a SoFi account, a SoFi high yield savings account, and
Mhm,
I just put in my emergency fund there,
mhm.
and I can actually Zelle money in and out of that account. So I can have it instantly into my checking account if something were to happen.
Yes. Yes. And I think, those are the key factors of an emergency fund, right? Is the accessibility. You need to have access to it. I mean, that's for emergencies, right? So if
Mhm.
something comes up, you need to have access to it. And I think the other maybe red flag there is taxes. And if you
Mhm.
can pull money out without taking any taxes, then that should be considered an emergency fund.
Yeah.
I know from my personal experience, I have bonds. That's what I
Mhm.
use for my emergency fund because I've had them for years and years and years.
Mhm.
So I'm just not gonna touch them.
Mhm.
But, there's high yield savings accounts. There's just it's I have a hard time keeping money in just a regular savings account through your
Mhm.
bank,
Mhm.
because it's not gaining that interest that you need, or that you're just kinda letting it sit and not work
Mhm.
for you. And I think a common theme that we talk about on this podcast too is kind of beating inflation, right?
Mhm.
And we talk about kind of that balance between emergency fund, putting it in the market, now a
Mhm.
balance between interests. There's so many different things to balance. And
Yeah.
that's why it's so important to talk with a financial advisor.
Yeah. And I'm gonna call you out a little bit on
Yeah.
what you just said.
Okay.
And my opinion on why you shouldn't have your emergency fund in bonds,
Okay.
because bonds lately have been more volatile than in previous history. So, where and the whole point of having an emergency fund is to have something that is not very volatile. And if you look
Yes.
at bonds, they have been volatile, and
Correct.
that's why it's been I'll be more cautious, and that's why people used to use them back in the day as your safe
Mhm.
haven, as your
Yes.
cushion, even inside of a portfolio. But
Mhm.
even nowadays, in the like since 2000 to now, the volatility of these bonds have gone up. Essentially, they go up and down more, and also the interest they pay is you can get very similar interest rate uh,
Correct.
with your regular high yield savings account.
Mhm.
So that would be my because a lot of people are probably thinking that as well. I could just do bonds and I could consider that my emergency fund, but I
Mhm.
would recommend not doing something like that. So
There's
not to
yeah,
call
and
you
there's
out.
also I mean, typically with, like, bonds and CDs too, there's a minimum of years
Hmm.
required, and so that also kinda takes away from the emergency fund aspect because
Hmm.
you need to have it in for 5
Locked
years, let's
in.
say. You're right, you're locked in for 5 years. So making sure that, if you are gonna consider it as your emergency fund, make sure you're not considering it for those first 5 years locked
Yeah.
in because you can't do anything with that,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And so, yeah, there's different avenues and making sure that you balance it,
Hmm.
between other aspects of your financial plan too.
Yep. And again, the ultimate goal is to uh, not touch your investments because those are growing at a faster
Mhm,
rate. Even though they're more volatile, but they are on
mhm,
average growing at a faster rate than your high yield savings account
mhm,
for 3 to 4% right now. I
mhm,
wish it was like last year. Was it last year? I think it was last year, where they were 5%.
mm,
The high yield savings account were paying that much. It was great.
uh-huh. Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but
absolutely.
um, but
There
it's again going back to we want to keep the investments invested as long as possible,
Mhm,
and and let's say you have to happen to be in an emergency, and you need to tap into your emergency fund and deplete it. uh you can just take from your investments, wait and maybe they've gone up or down. If they're up,
mhm,
great, sell and then replenish your savings. Or you can save it with replenish it with your income over time.
mhm,
I like a combination of the two, or maybe starting out with 1 month, shave off a little bit of the gains on your investments, put in, and
mhm,
then put 1 month's worth of your emergency of expenses, and
mhm.
that kind of getting you started. And then on the monthly basis, you put in a little bit more, a little bit more, a little more,
Yes.
until you get to that 6 months or 3 months or whatever
Yes.
number it is for you.
And I also wanna mention too, I know plenty of people that also tap into their Roth IRAs
Mm,
early. Not early, but when they're 59 and a half, right? Because that's when you can take it out without penalties. And so people assume like, "Oh, I can use that money then. I can take it out without any penalties." But that I will say this for you, Jose, that should not be used as your emergency fund.
yeah. Yeah, and also, if you had other taxable accounts outside of your Roth,
Mhm.
I would tap into those first before I even consider touching the Roth,
Oh,
because
that's an interesting take.
tax-free money grows faster than taxable money. So
Mm.
you wanna leave the tax-free accounts alone for as long as possible. So out of, sequence of access to monies,
Yeah.
I would say high yield savings account is the most accessible, the first one you should think about.
Yep.
Then your non-qualified or non-IRA brokerage accounts,
Okay.
and then IRA, traditional IRA monies, and then Roth and life insurance money is the last money that I would touch. Doesn't even I know you
Wow.
technically could access the money at any time
Yeah.
on either
Yeah.
of those accounts, but
Mhm.
just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yes.
So those accounts I would touch it at the very last.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's a hot take. I think we'll end on that one. I like that answer. And honestly, I mean, I appreciate the order of operations, right? I
Hmm.
think I can be with our listeners and viewers on this one, but it helps to know like this is the step, right? This is step
Hmm.
number 1. This is what I should be thinking about. This is maybe how I get there, or if I don't know how to get there, then I'm going to do all I can to get to that first step. And then
Hmm.
working in those steps to get to where you need to be. And I think that that's what you're so helpful with,
Hmm.
Jose, and the team at Cooper Financial is you guys are able to help with the steps and take that pain away from, me to know, okay, this is what I need to do first. This is
Hmm.
what I need to do second. And I love that. So Jose, can you share with our listeners and viewers how they can get a hold of you?
Yeah, they can go to our website, financialarmorshow.com, or give us a call at 888-390-5277.
Perfect. Any final thoughts before we close out?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I think people are may be noticing on as far as trends of the kind of
Mhm.
topics we talk about is that as from an educational perspective, I want people to to hear these rules of thumb
Yes.
things that they probably see on the news, they see on YouTube, they see on TikTok, or whatever it may be. And I feel like some of those rules of thumbs are too general.
Yes.
And and what I want people to think about is it shape their way of thinking about all of these things, that how do I frame this rule of thumb to apply to my life?
Correct.
And that's what I'm hoping that people get out of these podcasts,
Mhm.
because there's so many that people could really take these rules of thumb a little bit too seriously,
Yes.
and then treat it like it's religion, and be there and
Mhm.
use it without any exceptions. But I
Mhm.
think people's life are not black and white. There's some color to it, and you need to adjust
Yeah.
things to fit your lifestyle and your life and your situation. So that's why I'm
Mhm.
hoping that I change people's way of thinking when looking at these rules of thumb.
Yeah, I love that. And, you're absolutely right. I know that you say a lot that I can apply my life to. And I hope that our listeners and viewers feel that same way. And I think it's also important to note that no situation in life or what you hear on social media or anything like that, it's not a one size fits all. And
Hmm.
especially when it comes to money and handling your situation, everybody's family life is different. Everybody's comfort level is different, what you value is going to be different, and all of those aspects involve your money and in your financial, strategy. And so it's so important to get that personalized opinion and that individual approach. But it's also important to see yourself in these situations that we talk about and picture
Hmm.
yourself in that so then you can give a call, and
Hmm.
find out for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Jose, for a fantastic episode. And, if you have any questions about that emergency fund, give Jose or Brad a call at Cooper Financial Group, 888-390-5277. Thank you, Jose. And that does it for this episode of Financial Armor with our host, Jose Rodriguez.
Thank you.